I've made several attempts over the years to tell Georgie's story and to talk about him, but I always have a hard time. Um, he meant a lot to me, and I don't feel like, as some kind of amateur journalist, I can do him credit. But I learned a lot from the man, and he showed me a lot of kindness. And so I'm going to try to break this down. This time we're not going to talk about his career. We're going to talk about what he taught me. George Benton, known as the Professor, boxed professionally for 19 years with a record of 62, 13, and 1 before apprenticing to Eddie Futch in 1970 to learn to be a trainer and cornerman. Over the years he trained or co-trained 20...
When I knew him, they didn't call him the Professor. Jack Kenny called him the mayor of North Philly. In the gym, they just called him Georgie. He looked at me and he said, "Look, man, we about boxing here. You about boxing, so you're all right." It's apparent to me that his experience and his deep understanding, and then maybe more importantly, his perception of what was going on at any moment in a round was just different than mine. And he couldn't articulate it, and I couldn't name it. The gym is the classroom, and shadowboxing is the homework. The fight is the test, and the minute between rounds is a teaching moment.
The guy's carrying you too fast. He's backing you up too much. Hey, man, you got to get down, got to dig in a little bit. You understand what I'm saying to you? You listening to me?
If you remember, I'd previously commented that Joe Frazier had an underrated but effective right uppercut that complemented his left hook. The story was that Joe Frazier had asked Georgie for help in the gym, and Georgie had taught him how and when to throw that punch. Now, with Eddie gone a lot working with other fighters, Joe asked Georgie to come and run the gym. I used to watch Georgie instruct fighters standing in front of the big mirror at Joe Frazier's gym. He was really one of the great teachers of our era. He told me what he learned from Eddie was fight psychology, and he said that Eddie could quietly get a fighter ready and to the point where he wanted to take the biggest test of his life. These conversations were rarely just with Georgie by himself. Usually Quinzel McCall and Wesley Mouzone and maybe some other people were sitting around. Sometimes the other guys would go to lunch. Georgie never left the gym, so I would stay and talk to him then. They had a lot of stories, man, and it used to make me laugh. But I can't tell them all here. I'm going to get way off track. First time I ever went upstairs and sat around with these guys, Georgie said, "This is Wes. He don't like nobody, so don't take it personally." Georgie was the first person to talk to me about diet and the importance of cooking your own food. He was a great cook in his own right. I learned about abdominal training from him, fight preparation, and how to take the last 2-3 pounds off a fighter when you're getting down close to the fight, and how to taper them off. I never saw a focus mitt or a double end bag used there. They took a lot of pride in bringing the fighter in at the weight and good to go. Yeah, Georgie told me it ain't how many people you knocked out, it's who you knocked out. That leads to a larger discussion of punch resistance, and we'll have to have that conversation later. But we're here about boxing, not just endless conditioning.
Now, you ain't having no problem, are you?
If you could understand the opponent's initiation, you could have a feeling or know what he was going to throw. And that knowing was more important than the counterpunch you threw back. Because when you could sense when he was going to punch before he did it, then you're ahead of the play. When you make the opponent miss enough, he starts to second guess himself. This is very important over the course of a fight.
But you understand what I'm saying to you? You listening to me?
This is part one. There's plenty more. They all had stories, and I'll continue to work on this whole project. You know, time goes by and memories begin to fade, but I do not want these men to be forgotten in boxing history. Like every YouTube channel, I'm required to beg you to like, comment, and subscribe.